story of that Indian out in the bottom of that desert that was sending up a smoke signal, had him a little fire and a blanket, and he was sending it up. All of a sudden, they set off one of those atomic bomb tests out there. Boy, that thing mushroomed up, I mean, great big. That Indian folded his blanket up and said, I wished I'd have said that. I wished I could say what this preacher's saying. He's all right. Nothing in this world beats being faithful to the Lord. Amen. Outside of soul salvation, I think God's people ought to be a faithful folk and serving God. I mean, just get in there, praise God, shout to victory, and enjoy old-time salvation. That's what God means for us to do. I remind that story of the baseball manager that wouldn't start a game till every seat was taken. He walked out one day, all of them was taken except one left in the balcony, and there was one vacant seat. He went stomping up. There's an old lady about 80 years old. He said, "Where's your husband?" She said, "He's dead." Well, he said, "Why didn't you bring your relatives?" She said, "They've gone to the funeral." Now, I can't do nothing but toss them out. You have to feel them. Right? Listen, I want to tell you, Grandma was going to that ball game. It made who Pap was dead. Amen. I think it's we want to go to church. We want to be there and praise God, enjoy old time salvation, and I have had myself a good time already tonight. Amen. You enjoyed that time? Oh, you just think to that day when we would get around, get to talk it over with you. Praise God. Find out, getting all the answers. Yes, sir. I'm a nosy bird anyhow. You that way? I like to know what's going on. I want to tell you, my friends, one of these days, thank God we'll find out why. That's right. And when we find out, we'll all be surprised to find out some of the answers one of these mornings. Well, I want to say just a word again. Some of the folks playing me up tonight made me want to go to the Greer Camp meeting. When I got out, people were saying they're going to try their best to make it down to the Greer Camp meeting. I heard the pastor say today that they'd like to rent a bus, praise God, charter a bus, and come down to the Greer Baptist Camp meeting. I wish you'd come down. All you got to do is go over here. Where's 85 here? Go to Greensboro, catch 85. Our camp's about 3 miles off of Interstate 85. And when you just get near Greer, roll the window down and you'll hear us. Yes, sir. I mean, bless God, that choir will be singing, "I'll meet you in the morning" or something or another. And we'll wind it up tighter than an 8-day clock. I was at a sale one time, and this fellow said he had a clock that run 8 days. His 8-day clock run 8 days without winding it. That auctioneer said, "Well, how long would it run if you used to wind it?" Amen. Well, we're going to wind things up. We're going to just get in high gear. And we want you to come down and be with us. We'll barbecue about 500 chickens. I got 2 chicken men. Gives me chickens every year. One fellow in Elkton, Maryland, northeast Maryland, right below Elkton. He gives me 500 chickens every year. And then I met another guy in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He said, "I've got as many chickens as you want and all the eggs." He said, "Now they have to be double yolked." He said, "We don't sell double yolk eggs." He said, "We take them out," and said, "We don't put them on the market," and said, "We'll give you all the double yolk eggs you like." My soul, I like that better than I do them single yolk. There may not be folks about them. Them's kind I'm looking for. Huh? Yes, sir. Why, Lord, anybody needs a dozen eggs, can't they? Can't you, brother? I guarantee you. As talking a while ago about all these preachers on the front row, I'm good to have you with us, sister. Then I look down here, and there's them 3 big whoppers that sat there, and that little thin fella sat beside. The one on the bench ain't like that. If I should get on it, it'd break. But anyhow, we want you to come down to the Greer Camp meeting. It is always, these are established dates, always the last week of June and the first week of July. In other words, we're going the week of July the 4th, and if you can't remember when the other time is, just remember that it's the week before July the 4th, and then, my friends, the week of July the 4th, we'll have a great time in the Lord. Brother Mays Jackson will be there preaching the first week, and that'll be the last week of June. Then Brother Tom Hayes, who I think is one of the finest young preachers in this country, will be there preaching the second week. Why don't you make your plans to come down? On the 4th of July, we have a big celebration that day. I mean, we shout it out. We start service about 10 o'clock. Brother Billy Knorf down at Greensboro, he'll be there teaching and preaching the second week, starting every morning at 10 o'clock. And we'll have all that meat ready. It takes us about 12 to 14 hours to barbecue all that hog meat. Then we start about 4 o'clock on those chickens, getting started, getting the pits hot. I got the barbecue pit building, preacher, bigger than your church house. Yes, sir. And I'm not exaggerating. We got pits longer than this church here. And we barbecue 500 chickens and about 15 hogs. And bless God, I mean, we get the lemonade barrels out and we drink lemonade. We eat all that pork meat and good old baked beans. My, some of the best. You know, we fix those baked beans. We got a monopoly on that thing, honey. We got big old pans. And when we get everything ready, we take those baked beans and put them on those pits where that smoke and hickory smoke flavors them real good. And then we make macaroni pie. We eat that macaroni pie and we have ourselves a time. Yes, sir. But because I don't like that, boy, I like to eat that good old hog meat. Hey, man, I'm a hog eater. You like them, huh? Yeah. Chitlins, any chitlin eaters here? Man, I can eat as good as long as town. I like pigs, feet, pig ears, pig tails, just pig. I can eat it all, brother. That's right. We used to kill hogs. That's a big day back in Mountain View, Tennessee, kill hogs. And I couldn't wait to hog killing time. Always back in the mountains used to, about November the 15th, it's hog killing time. They got things messed up this damn time. You don't know whether you can kill one any time of the year or not. But anyhow, back then, you can kill about November the 15th. Now, I take that bladder out of that hog. And I'm pretty sure you too young know anything about this, but that's where this thing comes from, pig skin. We used to take that bladder, and I'd get me a cane, and I'd blow that thing up, tie me a string around, and that's my football. That's what I played with. Yes, sir. Any of you ever do that? Huh? Well, there's one fellow back there, and the rest of you ought to try it sometime. And I take it in the house at night time, afraid the dogs would eat it. Amen. Put it next to the fireplace, and the next morning, by the time we got up, that old bladder had been laying beside that fireplace. There'd be enough grease there to cook a dozen days. Yes, sir. Well, I just like stuff like that. And we rendered out lard, my soul. We made hominy. We made our own lye. Did you ever do that? Take old hardwood ashes and let water drip through it, and that lye start building up. Make that good old-timey hominy. I'm getting hungry. I ain't had no supper, no. I'm getting hungry. Yes, sir. Boy, I tell you right now, I enjoy living in the country. And folks that don't live in the country, they don't know what they're missing this day and time.
That's right.
I see this milky drink, they call it milk. That stuff we used to feed to the hogs, Blue John. That's right. I got a measuring cup in the house that my grandma had, and on the side of it said, good milk has 10% fat. Well, my soul, the best you can buy in a store, now even half ain't got that much, you know that? It'd take pure cream to make 10% fat. I just like that. And I like that old-timey cooking. I'm eating them biscuits, you know, them good old canned heads. Hey, y'all listen to me. I like that stuff, buddy. And we have a time at the Greer Camp meeting. We preach a while, sing a while, eat a while, eat a while, sing a while, eat a while, sing a while, sing a while, eat a while, and I mean we get in on it. And have a time at the Greer Camp meeting. Then also at Alamance Baptist Camp meeting at Burlington, we'll start the first 2 weeks of June. In other words, we'll go 1 week and up to Wednesday night of the second week. Brother Buster Seaton from Knoxville, Tennessee, and Brother James Langston from over North Georgia will be there preaching, and Brother Joe Off from Atlanta, Georgia, he'll be there preaching also. You come be with us if you can, and I'm sure God will bless you coming to these camp meetings. Why don't you get in a good meeting somewhere? Camp meetings, tent meetings, and just let God bless you this summer in a special kind of way. Back at the door, there's still some tapes left. All right, we got some tapes back there at the door. Go by, preaching tapes, singing tapes, popcorn, chewing gum, Cracker Jacks, get a while to last. All right, go by and look at them tonight. And for an offering of $5, you can have it. Old Brother Bobby Grubbs was in a meeting with me one time, and he had some records, and I said, you all go by and pick up one of Brother Bobby's records. They did, 25 of them, amen, and didn't give him a dime. Well, if you pick one of them up, lay a little something down, would you please? I appreciate it. It helps the empty pocket fund, yes sir, and the Lord bless you. How many of you got one of my records? Somebody asked today, says that's about songs about mother. There's one on there, Come Spring, and others that's there. And there's one about Mother Went A-Walking, if you'd like to get some recitations and all that. They're back at the door. Well, I've had a marvelous time already. This preacher, he's a delight to be with. And all these other preachers, I just enjoyed their fellowship this week. Now, I'll tell you what's the truth. I've enjoyed you being here night after night. How many of you have been here every service? You've been here every service. Look at that. How many of you just missed one service, huh? One service. How many wish you hadn't come? God bless you. Amen. Amen. We're glad you're here. And you just enjoy yourself in the Lord. Let me sing a song, and then after that, I'm going to bring a message tonight that's a familiar text, I'm sure. I'm over the book of Luke, chapter 15. Luke's Gospel and chapter 15.
Kids, 4 years of age and below. We'll let you go downstairs right in there. 4 years of age and below. Real quick.
I stood in a lonely room of a mother old and gray. Her voice so weak she could hardly speak. I brushed a tear away. She was watching the little snowflakes falling on the window pane. She breathed a sigh and then replied, I'll be gone to be with Jesus come spring. Before the roses bloom in my garden, I'll be gathering flowers in a better land. Before the fields turn green, before the robins sing, I'll be gone to be with Jesus come spring. There's a big gate standing open, a gentle voice calls me home. Soon I'll be in God's country, in a garden all my own, with my troubles all behind me, and my body free from pain. When the sun melts the snow and the warm winds blow, I'll be gone to be with Jesus come spring. Now the roses have bloomed in her garden, and the warm winds blow across the fields of green. She's gone where angels sing, earth's loss is heaven's gain. But we'll meet when God gathers flowers come spring. Yes, we'll meet when God gathers flowers come spring. Well, I got a cold last night. I wanted to sing another one. That's what I'm going to preach about tonight. I'd like to do that tomorrow night if I can. But I think the preaching of God's Word is more important at this particular time that I bring the message. Luke's Gospel, chapter 15. And if you'd like to follow along with me in Luke's Gospel, chapter 15, here's familiar verses. Begin reading in verse 11. Luke's Gospel and chapter 15 and in verse 11. And he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he'd spent all, there rose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and he joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. When he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I'll arise, and I'll go to my father. And I'll say unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose, and he came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said unto the servants, bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat, and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found, and they began to be merry. Now, as we look at the text tonight, here is a young man that comes to his dad and demands of his father the privileges of adulthood without recognizing the responsibility that goes along with it. There's many a young person across this country this day and time that's doing the same thing. They want their own pad. They want their own automobile. They're tired of the farm. They're tired of the family. They're tired of friends, and they want to get away. That's the way this young fella is. He's tired of feeding all that stock down at the barn. He's tired of working in the fields, gathering in the grain, the hay, whatever. He's tired of that. He was tired of his dad telling him what to do, and he wanted to get away. And he's tired of his friends. He wanted to make some new friends. And he wanted to separate and get away from them. I never forget hoeing those corn back in the mountains of East Tennessee. Boy, the fields stood to me like a mile long. Now they wasn't, but they looked that way. And when the sun's beating down, and you got a hoe, and you're having to hoe out corn, brother, any field looks a mile long. Huh? Yes, sir. I want to tell you, my friends, listen. My grandpa owned that corn, planted that far apart. They planted this day and time as thick as the hair on a dog's back, but he wanted it far apart. We had to thin it out. We had to chop it out. We had to plow it out. And boy, the best day there was around there is when we laid it by. Amen. Being the youngest, I'd have to go to the spring and get water. And while I was up at the spring, they'd have the milk in the spring, the sweet milk and buttermilk. Temptation to get the best of me. I'd raise the lid on that sweet milk jar or bucket, whatever they had it in, and I'd stick my fingers down in that cream. And when I pulled it out, I had to 5 popsicles. I'd go down through the field licking that cream off of my fingers. Yes, sir. But I made my mind up. There must be another way to live. There must be another way out. Boy, listen, I'm going to do something else. I was putting it in the closet one day. I found an old fiddle. It didn't have any strings on it. I took off to my uncle's house. He picked a 5-string banjo. I said, I want you to put me some strings on this thing. And he did. He put them on, tuned it up for me, gave me a bow. I took off back to the house, and then I started. First song I learned to play was Ida Red, Ida Red. I'm in love with Ida Red. I don't know who Ida was, but I was in love with her. I can do that right now. I'd fiddle that thing, Ida Red, Ida Red. I played her down there for about 3 days. I can remember my grandpa sitting there beside the fireplace. He spit in the fireplace, that Brown's mule tobacco, and looked at me and said, now boy, you or that fiddle one's got to go. That's all there is to it. I decided I'd leave. I went to the barn. I got in the crib. I started again. Ida Red, Ida Red. I'm in love with Ida Red. I looked through the crack of the barn. Bless God, the mules is leaving. They couldn't stay. Well, I'm trying to tell you, my friend, I was fed up with the farm living. I was fed up with the folks the way they was doing. I was fed up with all them beans and taters they'd been feeding me. I wanted a pizza and a hamburger or something else. I want to get out of there. And I tell you, friends, that's what this young man does. He comes to his father and he said, Father, I want the portion of goods that falls to me. And the Bible said he divided unto them. Notice, both of them. One complained later about not having anything, but it said there that he divided unto them his living. Not many days later, that younger son took his journey into a far country. Now, I don't know where he went. Some Bible scholars say he went to the land of Egypt. They say he stayed approximately 3 years. I don't know. But I know one thing. Wherever he did go, he was living it up. He got this indulgence and all the sin that he was big enough by which to get into. He was having himself a fling in sin. There's something sad about leaving home. That's right. And that's all I've done. I've been a full-time evangelist for 36 years. Oh, it's always sad. Every time I leave, I get my kids around, I kiss them, I cry, kiss my wife, go down the road of crying. There's just something sad about leaving. I remember back during World War I when the war broke out, seeing the troop trains in Knoxville, Tennessee, as they pull out soldier boys leaning out the windows, and you'd see them waving as far as you could see that train going down the way, and mamas and daddies and sweethearts waving. It was a sad, sad time. I went to the Greenville-Spartanburg Airport some years back, and there's a little boy there. He looked like he's about 15 years old. He must have been older than that because he had on an army suit. And the Vietnam War was going. We got out there, and that little boy was waiting for his plane to come in, and there's about 35 people standing there. All of a sudden, that little feller heard his flight number, and he began to pucker up. Mama stepped up and kissed him. His sweetheart kissed him. His old dad is going to be real brave, and he stepped up there and stuck his hand out and going to shake hands. But about that time, that old dad's chin went to quivering, and he just broke down, threw his arms around that feller. Listen to me. I'd never seen that guy in my life. Me and my wife had never seen him. And I looked around, and there she stood, and I stood there, just crying up a storm. There's something sad about somebody leaving home. I went back to the same airport sometime later, and there's a big crowd. There must have been 150 people. They was waiting on somebody to come in. And when that plane landed, and the door opened, a big old master sergeant stepped up in that door, and one of them hollered, "Yonder he is!" And that crowd went wild. Oh, there's a whooping and a hollering, and I looked around, and me and my wife, woo! We was in it on it too, honey. Yes, sir. Now there's something sad about leaving, and there's something joyful about coming home. See this boy? He's down in the land of sin. He's going to have himself a time. He's living it up, but all of a sudden, every time his God's gone, his morals are gone, his character's gone, his principles are gone, everything that's righteous and holy and upright's gone down the drain, and now his money's gone, his clothes are gone, his sandals are gone, everything's gone. He's ruined. I tell you, friends, he begins to look for a job, and the next thing you know, he gets a degrading job. He joined himself up to a citizen of that land, feeding a bunch of old hogs. Now you think about that. A Jew boy feeding hogs. But you know what? Sometimes God will let you get on the bottom. I might think so that you can look up. Did you know that? That's right. You'd be surprised how many folks that belong to churches this day and time that have degrading jobs. I was preaching in Fayetteville, North Carolina years back. Man sitting on the front row hollering amen. Amen. I like that. That's like hollering singing with a bulldog. And I was enjoying that. After the service, I said to the pastor, "Who is that fellow?" He told me. And I don't know why I asked this question, except God must have been in it. I said, "Where does he work?" The pastor grunted around and said, "He works at the ABC liquor store." Oh, I said, "He do?" I got up the next night to preach. And Bert said, "Amen." I said, "Shut up! I don't the devil's crowd of egging me on. Just keep your mouth shut." Listen, my friend, if God is big enough, are you listening to me? If God is big enough to save your soul, He's big enough to give you a decent job somewhere. Yes, He is. So this young man joins himself, does citizens of that country, and now he's feeding the old swine. Look what it says. It said that he got so hungry he could have, didn't say he did, but said he could have filled his belly with the husk that fell from the hog's mouth. Now, you farm boys, you remember how an old hog will chew that grain, chew the corn, and while he's chewing, he'll slobber. And the grain, the husk, will fall out the side of his mouth a lot of times and fall on the ground. This old boys were watching that, and he was so hungry he could have eaten it. He didn't, but he was so hungry he could have. Somebody said, "Preacher, you mean a man get hungry around a hog pen?" I did one time. Let me tell you about it. I swapped a lawnmower for a hog. Best deal I ever pulled in all of my life. I'd rather have ham any time than the old grass, wouldn't you? Yes, sir. Oh, I want to tell you why. My wife's from the city. She is raised in the city. In fact, to tell you the truth, she's 25 years old before she ever found out that a bush hog was an animal. I said to my wife, I said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I said, I'm going to get a slop bucket. Now, I'm not being vulgar. You young people, you don't even know what I'm talking about, but you farm folks know. I said, I'll get a slop bucket. And I said, you take that greasy dishwater and all the leftover food, take the potato peelings and all the things that's left over and throw it in that slop bucket. And I take that hog every day. Oh, every day about 4 o'clock, I had a big old bench-legged bulldog. He weighed about 100 pounds. Man, he was a mean-looking critter. My wife said we favored. I said, come on, Sarge! We take off to that hog pen. Now let me tell you something. That hog had never heard of Emily Post. He didn't know one thing about manners. I poured that slop over in that trough. He'd get up in the trough. I mean, he'd lay down in that greasy dishwater. He'd stick his snout down in it, and he'd start. And then all of a sudden he hit a biscuit or a hunk of cornbread. Man, listen, I'd get to listen to that, and that made me so hungry I couldn't hardly stand it. My wife said to hurry back, I'll have supper on the table. I listened to all that I could take. I said to that bitch-legged bulldog, come on, Sarge! Let's get to the house. I'd get back to the house, and my wife would say, wash up! Supper's on the table. I'd get to the table. I'd call on her to pray. She don't pray as long as I do. I was about to starve to death. I'd call on her to pray. And when she got through, man, I'd have my fork in my hand and I was ready to declare war. Now let me say something. I want to say, my friends, I got hungry at the hog. That's what happened. This old boy, he's just some old hogs, and listen to that, and he got hungry. Oh, but it's about that time that he begins to come to himself. And you know what he said? Why, he said, my father's hired servants have bread and bread to spare. And here I am. I'm in the office fix I've ever been in. I mean, he's fixed to have the biggest meat he'd ever had. His backbone was fixed to meet his belly. Amen. I mean, his sandals are gone. His hair's unkempt. His robe is tattered and torn. And he said, my father's hired servants have bread and bread to spare. And here I am with nothing. And boy, when he said that, I tell you, the thought hit his soul. And he said, I believe I'll go home. Praise God for the day. I tell you, friends, from the thought hit my soul to go home. I see that old boy as he takes off to the house. Now turn the scene around. For 3 long years, a broken-hearted mother and dad has been wondering, where's her boy? Where is her boy? Oh, Billy Sunday used to say it's not every man that takes a gun and kills his old mother and daddy, but there's a lot of people kill their parents by the very life that they live. Yes, sir. Amen. I can see a broken-hearted mother and dad. Maybe it was in the cool of the afternoon. They might have been sitting on the porch, and they're not talking. You know how it is. You get old. You don't say nothing. You know what she's thinking. She knows what you're thinking, so what you're talking about, huh? Amen. That's the way me and my wife do. We just sit around, and not a thing I wouldn't do for her, and not a thing she wouldn't do for me, and we just sit around doing nothing for each other. Amen. But anyhow, I can see that old man and that old woman sitting on that porch, and they got on their mind, where's my boy? I wonder where about that time that old man looks down across the plains, and he sees a fella come up the way. His shoulders are bent. I tell you, steps are slow, and that old fella begins to strain his eyes. About that time he comes up out of the chair, and he begins to say, Mama, I believe honestly that's our boy coming home. And that old fella takes out across the plains. Now listen, you think it's a little quiet meeting, you ought to go back and read it again. Amen. How come all them servants there, huh? How come all those servants out there? I believe that old man hollered, bless God, to the acres fell. My boy, it's my son coming home. He flees praise out across that field. And when he got to that boy, you think he stopped about as far into that organ and said, now boy, listen, I know what you've been doing. I know all about you. I know what you've been doing. You've been feeding them old hogs, and you're not staying in my house. You sleep at the barn. Get in the haystack. No, he didn't do that. I bless God, he ran up. And the Bible said he threw his arms around him. And he began to kiss him. In fact, the greatest story in all of this is not the prodigal that left, the man that stayed at the house. But I think the greatest story of all this is a loving father. Thank God. I mean, a loving father that threw his arms about that old boy. Now, let me give you a little education if you're not from the country. Hey, if you lived in the country, you know what I'm talking about. If you go out yonder to the barn, get the filth of the barn on you, you can get you some good soap and hot water and a good wash rag, and you can scrub and then put you on some good smelling perfume, and you're all right, huh? Yeah. But I want to tell you something, and these foreign people here know what I'm talking about. Honey, if you ever go to that hog lot, you had it. I mean, you had it. You can scrub all you want to. You can get you some oxidol. You can get Octagon. You can scrub and scrub with homemade Lysol. And then you can put you on some good perfume. Evening in Paris. Chanel number 5. Or on out on Alabama Street. It don't make no difference. I got news for you. 3 days later, they can tell you've been to the hog lot, honey. Amen. Is that right? Yeah. I want to tell you, my friends, listen. That old boy, he's been at that hog lot. His daddy knew it. He never rebuked him. He never fussed at him. He never drug up his past. Praise God! Say, the day when I came home, God never accused me. He never drug up my past. Amen. I drug it up. I began to confess. And that's what this old boy does. He said, Father, I've sinned against you. And I've sinned against you. Oh, he said, I'm not worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of your hired servants. But never one time did that old dad bring accusations against him. I'll tell you what he did do. He turned to those servants and said, go to the house. Get the best robe we've got. Put it on him. Put shoes on his feet. Put a ring on his finger. And the servants start to the house. And the old man shouts to him and said, hey! You know that calf we've been stall feeding? Said, kill it. Kill it! We're going to have a homecoming and a reunion. My boy has come home. Now notice, my friends, the things that happen here. Notice the things that take place here. Notice, my friends, and I want to give you this. I for fear that I forget it. There are 3 things it's an abomination for a man to do. 3 things an abomination for a woman to do. We find this an abomination for a man. Let his hair grow like a woman. Abomination for a man, my friends, to go barefooted in public. Did you know that? You didn't know that? Let me tell you about it. In the Old Testament, when they capture a king, the first thing they do is cut his big toes off and make him get in the streets and walk around barefooted. That was humiliation, and the Bible said an abomination in the sight of God. I tell you, a full-grown man ought to wear shoes. Amen. I saw a sign in a restaurant the other day said, no bare feet allowed except on a bear. Amen. And then, my friends, not only it's an abomination for a man to let his hair grow like a woman, and my friends to go barefooted, but it's an abomination in the sight of God for a man to wear anything. Now, wait a minute, don't get mad at me. I'm giving what the book said. Amen. Anything that pertaineth to a woman. And there's 3 things it's an abomination for a woman to do. She's not to cut her hair to where she looks like a man. She, my friends, is not to show her thighs. The Bible said on one occasion they was crossing the river and the women raised their skirts and showed their thighs. And it was an abomination in the sight of God. And then it's an abomination in the sight of God for a woman, my friends, to wear anything that pertaineth to a man. Now, I see women this day and time, they wear breeches like the men. But if I'd have come in here and had the dress on, you'd have went wild. Say amen. Isn't that right? Say amen. Kind of nod your head and nothing else will help your neck. All right. Listen, my friend. So God said these abominations. Well, here's the little boy. And you know what the old dad said? What did he say? He said, put shoes on his feet. That's one of the first things he said. Get him cleaned up, dressed up, fixed up. We're fixing to have a reunion. Now come with me, for and I'm going to keep you too long. I want you to know something tonight. I want to tell you about the greatest homecoming and reunions that I ever experienced in all my life. I was an MP here at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the 503rd MP Battalion. And it happened to be my day to stay in the office while the rest of the cadre went out to eat lunch. I was just sitting there at the desk waiting on the rest of them to come back where I could go eat my dinner. About that time the door opened. In comes a fellow with a pair of overalls, an old blue work shirt, an old work hat in his hand. And I said to him, "Are you a prisoner?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Sit down." He said down. I keep tight. I got a form out, that thing's about that long. I put it in the typewriter, and I used the biblical system of typing. Seek, and ye shall find. That's the way I type. I asked the man, I said, "What's your name?" He said, "Brant Turberfield." "Where are you from?" "Tabor City, North Carolina." I said, "Are you married?" "Yes." "How many children?" 8. And boy and I was going down the way, copying down what he said, and all kinds of questions. And after a while, I came to a question that the Army asked everybody. "Are you Catholic, Protestant, or Jew?" He looked at me and he said, "I belong to the Church of God." I looked at him and I said, "Are you saved?" Boy, he never expected to meet nobody in the stockade, especially an MP, that asked him a question like that. That old boy looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I'm saved." He said, "This having a meeting down there at home about 4 years ago." He said, "My old mother and dad went to the Church of God and all my family." And he said, "They got to praying for me." He said, "I got under conviction." He said, "I was plowing corn." And he said, "I made my mind up. When I got back to the end of that field, I was going to tie that old mule up to a cottonwood tree. I was going to get on my knees and ask God to save me." So about that time, he got to looking right wild. I looked at him and he said, "I never made it." He said, about halfway back through that cornfield, he said, "I don't know which way that mule went." He said, "I got on my knees. I confessed my sins and said, 'God, save me in that cornfield.'" I stuck my hand down. I said, "Praise God, I'm glad to know you." I said, "I'm a Christian." And then I asked the final question. I said, "What's your offense?" He said, "I've been A.W. well, absent without leave, for 12 years. Well, you say, what kind of a Christian was that bird? Let me tell you about him. He's one of the sweetest ones I ever met in my life. Well, you say, "What's he doing, A.W.L.?" And he'll say, "Well, let me tell you about it. He went into the war in World War II. He couldn't read his name in boxcar letters, and he couldn't learn to drill." Now, listen to me. He couldn't learn to drill. The sergeant say left flank or right flank. He didn't even know what this was talking about. He just as apt to go back to the barracks and go to bed. He didn't know what's going on. And you fellas that's been in service, you know how they'll tease a guy like that sometime. And one day the old sergeant called him into the office and said, "Here's your pace." Said, "Go home. We'll send for you when we need you." It was a 3-day pace. He went home. They didn't send for him. He didn't go back. That's how he sent for him. I mean, it's got 12 years passed by. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. The only thing that helped him in the end was that he never changed his name. He never changed his address. He sold his tobacco at the same barn every year that he is home for 12 years. That's the only thing that helped him in the end. Now, let's watch it. They gave him an easy job, sweeping the offices out. And it'd take him a couple of hours, and then he'd come into my office. And he'd want to talk about the Bible. And boy, we'd have the best time. One day he said to me, "Kelly," he said, "I want you to pray for me that if it's God's will I get out of this thing." Why, he said, "I've been keeping my mother and dad up, and of course my own family." Said, "I just bought a little 30-acre farm," and said, "I'll lose everything I got. My family will be left on the mercies of the people." Said, "I don't know what the world happened if I go to the penitentiary." Said, "Help me pray." I said, "Brian, I'll tell you what, every day at 2 o'clock, while all the rest of the prisoners and the cadre guards are out on guard duty," I said, "Let's me you slip back behind the cell block, and we'll have a prayer meeting, boy, every day about 2 o'clock. We'd go back there. You talk about ringing the bells of heaven, buddy. I've heard people say you can't serve God in the army. You can serve God anywhere you want to." Amen. Oh, we pray. I told him one day, I said, "Brant, you get out of this thing. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you in my car and take you home. Won't cost you a dime." Well, about a month passed by. One Monday morning, 2 prison chasers with sawed-off shotguns came, and they got Brant Turberfield. They took him to building 301, and that day they gave him the biggest court-martial that the Army offers, a general court-martial, and they sentenced him to 30 years in the federal penitentiary. Oh, I never seen a man so broken in all my life. I cried with him, and I said to him, "Brant, I said, you get out of it now. I'm going to take you home, but I'm going to tell you something, folks. Down deep inside, I thought that's one trip I'd never make. Now, there was one of three things could happen. Yes, his papers would go to Washington. If Washington remitted the sentence, he was automatically free man. If they approved the sentence, there's one of two things could happen. Here's what would happen. First of all, the general of Fort Bragg could set him free. That's the next thing that could happen. And our general's only a two-star general. I didn't expect a two-star general to buck anything that Washington had to say. His papers had gone about a month, and they came back, and in big bold black letters it said approved. 30 years in the federal penitentiary. Oh, when I told that man what it said, he cried like a baby, and I cried along with him. But I said, Brent, now wait a minute. If you get out of it, I said, I'm going to put you in my car, and I'm going to haul you home. About another month passed. The Korean War came to a close. I was standing on the front porch of the stockade one Saturday about 11:30 in the States in peace times. The soldiers get out at 12 o'clock. I just standing there talking to the gate guard, to use a good old army term, just a goofing off, waiting on the rest of them to 12 o'clock to roll around. About that time, I look down the street. Yonder comes Brent Turberfield, two prison chasers, but instead of walking with their weapons in a ready position, all three of them looked like they was going rabbit hunting somewhere. And I knew that God had moved on the scene. Old Brent got to the gate. He threw his hands up. The guard shook him down to see if he had any weapons or contraband. And when old Brent saw me, he came running. He said, "Can I? I'm a free man. I'm a free man." He said they wanted to buy me a black suit or give me $5. And said, I got the $5 to buy that gas. You're going to take me home on. He said, you're going to take me, aren't you? I said, as sure as I got him, I'm headed that way. Boy, he grounded up whatever he accumulated in those days' time. We got that little car of mine. I took off to Federal where me and my wife had an apartment. She went home just then. I fried some bacon, scrambled a few eggs, made a little coffee and toast, and then we took off for Tabor City. About 5 miles on the outskirts. He said, take the next road to the right. We turned down an old dirt, dusty road that went back through the sloughs and the bayous of eastern North Carolina. And he said, hey, said, would you mind stopping the next house down here on the left? Said, my mother and dad lives there. And he said, preacher, the only news that my people have is I'm going to spend 30 years in the penitentiary. Now, he said, boy, they're going to be surprised to see me. When I come walking in, he said, they're going to be surprised. I pulled up in the yard where stood an old sharecropper's house. Didn't look like a drop of paint had ever been on it. Yeah. The smoke was lazily curling up out of the chimney. I got out of my side of the car. I went around to open Brant's door. About that time, that little old cabin door opened. I'll tell you, a typical old-time Southern woman with a plain print dress, a nice clean apron, and a rag tied around her head. When that old woman saw old Brant, she threw that door back and went to hollering, Brant, my boy. I'm at that time a little old man. I knew it must be Brant's dad. Old Brant looked just like him. He was saying, son, that's all he could say. Hey, come here, man, I'll tell you something. God had prearranged that whole thing. His wife, 8 young'uns, his brothers and sisters, mother and dad, all with the exception of one brother's away in the army, every one of them was in that house. And when that old man and woman went to hollering, Brant, my boy and son, it looked like young'uns come out of the chimney, out from the floor, out the windows. I never seen such a thing. That little wife came, threw her arms about that man's neck, and all old Brant could say was, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. Hey. Little snotty nose young'uns standing there, holding daddy's trousers, and wiping tears. That's more than I could take. Honey, I took a running fit. I went down through a cotton patch, doing 100 miles an hour just about. I got in a swamp in mud up to my knees, shouting. I shook hands with every bush in the woods. After a while, I got back up there, and that old man said, son, I want to give you something. He said, take a cow home with you. I said, I can't do that. I live in town. They won't let you have no cow down there. Then he said, take a hog home with you. No, I said, I can't do that. Well, he said, I want to give you something. He went down to an old tobacco pack house. He got a tow sack, filled that thing up with sweet potatoes, and every time I'd eat a sweet tater after that, I'd have another spell. I'm thinking about that homecoming and that reunion in the swamps of old North Carolina. You'll say, preacher, what you tell me all that for? I'll tell you why. Boy, I was as bad a fix as that fellow one day. I was on death row. You didn't know about it? You didn't tell him? You didn't tell him about me being on death row? Huh? You don't remember me and you being there? Huh? Did you ever read in John's Gospel chapter 3?
Right,
he
amen.
that believeth not is condemned already.
Amen.
I was in a bad fix. I mean a terrible fix. It looks like there's no hope. I will take in the darkness of the night. I heard footsteps. Praise God. They got closer and closer. I heard keys rattling. Hey, are you listening to me? I heard the keys rattling. I heard that old key when it went in the lock. I heard that old lock when she snapped. I heard them old bars creaking when they pulled them back. And I heard somebody say, come unto me, all ye that live in the heavenly rest. Lord, God, I came out singing, Jesus signed my pardon. Yes, I truly know. Took my place at Calvary. I have to go. All my life I give to Him. He gave His for me. Jesus signed my pardon yonder at Calvary. Illustrate with another one. Old Justice came walking down the road, and he met Grace and Mercy coming back from a funeral. Said, where y'all been? Said, we just buried the sins of Billy Kelly. Old Justice got mad. The veins popped out in his neck. His face got as red as a turkey gobbler's snout. His lips turned pale blue. I tell you, his Adam's apple run up and down 90 miles an hour. And he looked at Grace and Mercy and said, tell me, where'd you put the sins of Billy Kelly? I got a warrant for that crook. He that believeth not's condemned already. And Grace and Mercy stood there and looked right stupid like and said, we can't remember. We can't remember. They're calm. They're in the sea of forgetfulness. To be remembered against you anymore. I want to tell you, my friends, do not listen. Praise God. I want you to know there's going to be a homecoming. Only one of these days. And all this blood-washed crowd's going to be there. There's a girl down in South Carolina, they tell me years ago, a little old girl that got a job working in the cotton mill back before they had child labor laws. They didn't pay her anything. Most of the time she couldn't even pay for her dinner. That little thing just go out walking. One day she passed the doctor's office. People sitting in the doctor's office was reading magazines. She wanted to do that, but she was afraid somebody would run her off if she went in. But finally she got up enough courage one day, and she went in that office. And she sat down and she started to read one of the magazines. Oh, did she ever love that. Nobody rebuked her. So every day when she'd get time, she'd go down there, and she'd look at the pictures. Man, she loved to read about those beautiful hotels in New York City. Oh my, she just was thrilled. She had a fantasy. It told about the beautiful furniture, the beautiful rugs that's on the floor. It told about the beautiful lighting system, the bathrooms, it described it. All of her life she had a fantasy to go to New York and stay in one of those rooms. She never married. She is 57 years old. Her health failed. She had to quit the cotton mill. She'd saved up a little money to bury herself with, but that's about all she had. Never been out of the state, never been out of the county hardly. But that kept pounding in her. I wished I could go to New York. One day she said, I've never been anywhere. I've never seen anything. I think I'll take a portion of that money and I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to see that room and stay in that beautiful hotel room. She checked out. She went to New York. Boy, she'd never seen a place like that. Lord, all the automobiles and the finery. She never experienced that. That girl went in and checked in. The bellhop picked up her luggage. They stepped in a room. Boy, her heart almost fell out. No furniture. No beautiful rugs on the floor. No beautiful bathrooms. And she was so disappointed, she just broke down and went to weeping. Well, she said, I've spent a portion of my life savings to come here and enjoy the beautiful rooms they tell about in the magazines. And they told about the beautiful furniture, pictures on the walls, the beautiful lights, and magnificent bathrooms and all of that. And there's nothing in here, no furniture, no pictures, no rugs. That bellhop looked at her and said, lady, he said, you're just on the elevator. Oh, my soulless brother. I tell you down here, the devil tells me there's no need. You might as well throw the towel in and quit. Give up! Give up! I want to tell you, my friends, thank God. Listen, I'm just on the elevator. Hey, you ain't seen me, Emmanuel. Amen. Bless God, one of these mornings I'm going to top the hill. I'll tell you, my friends, I'm going to have a mansion. Not a the beauties of heaven forever and forever. There'll be no crepe hung on the doorknobs of glory. There'll be no graveyards, no farewells, no so longs, no goodbyes. I want to tell you, it'll be a homecoming forever and forever.
Yes.
I don't have to tell you this, but you'll know it anyway. I like to eat it and told you a dozen times. And I tell these women, when the preacher comes around, they just outdo themselves. Yes, sir. I went over today and had a cake over there just out of this world. And these women, when they know the preacher's coming around, they'll fry that chicken. Good old dumplings. You like chicken and dumplings. And roast and steak and deer meat, dear old fat back and dear old bologna. And they'll have all the good trimmings, mashed potatoes, green beans and peas and cabbage, you name it. Hey, they got it. And all them good rolls and biscuits and cornbread. And boy, I just eat and eat and eat and eat. And after a while, the lady said, "Preacher, have some more." I said, "Lady, I am full up to my neck." Well, she said, "I had a strawberry shortcake." Well, I said, "That's what I saved my neck for." And she said, "Now, preacher, eat some more." No, but I will take some of that dessert. Now, you're going to want to make a meal on the dessert, even though I've been accused of it. But that dessert just gives that meal that, ooh. I mean, it just tops it off, don't it? I was down in Mississippi. I said to the woman that had pies over in the window, I said, "I believe I'll take some of that raisin pie." She said, "That's not raisin, that's coconut." Lord, y'all some money you don't even catch on. That's got them flies had to get off. All right. Hey, see that coconut. Well, listen, the lady in the house said, "Now, preacher, eat some more." No, but I will take that dessert. And I've had them reach over and get that plate, and you preachers have heard this many a time. As they get my plate, I've heard that woman say, "Keep your fork." Well, when she said, "Keep your fork," I knew something better's on the way. Amen. In a little bit, here she comes with that strawberry shortcake, banana pudding, nervous pudding, jello, lemon pie, chocolate pie, coconut cream pie, devil's food, angel's food, any kind of food. I just eat and eat. I'd be like that old colored boy back here in the Civil War. They said he'd eat a big bait of chicken and dumplings that looked like a peck tub full. He'd drink about a half a gallon of lemonade. And he got up and he's so full he couldn't hardly see. His eyes bulged out. He waddled out the back door, laid down under an apple tree, and said, "Breath, I strawed you for the last time." He said, "If you want to come and go, that's your business." Oh, I want to tell you, my friend, listen, that dessert. You say, "What do you tell me all about that for?" I'll tell you, what's wrong with God's doing for us tonight? Anything wrong with it? Rugs on the floor, good musicians, good singing, lights, air conditioning, which I wish it had turned on a while ago. Got heat, padded pews, dressed up, cars to drive, homes to live. What's wrong with what God's doing for us now? Not a thing. That's not a thing.
That's right.
But one of these mornings, thank God, listen, He's coming back. And you know what He's going to say, I believe? Keep your fork. Amen. You say, what's going to happen then? Thank God we're headed for the dessert. What is the dessert? There'll be no cripples in heaven.
Amen.
There'll be nobody stumbling around on braces, walking sticks in glory. There'll be no false teeth over there.
Amen.
No glasses over there. No crippled limbs over there. There'll be no little children dying. Many of you women walk down through the jaws of death to bring a little child in this world. God didn't see fit to let that little thing live. Last time you viewed mother's body, maybe there she was in a casket. Her body wasted away. Maybe she died of cancer or killed in an automobile wreck. My soul, I want to tell you, it's going to be dessert time. What is dessert? Thank God there'll be loved ones and friends walk out on the Sunday banks of sweet deliverance and catch us by the hand. And honey, we're going to stroll on. And it's going to be dessert time. Amen. Keep your fork. Praise God, we're headed out. We're on the little end of something big, honey.
Amen.
We're headed out to the other side. Father, take the messages for thy glory. Say the unsaved. There may be somebody here tonight in this building that's hanging over hell tonight. They're gambling with destiny. They're drifting too far from the shore. They're lost. May the Holy Ghost of God bring such conviction to them that this would be the happy night they'd get saved. Then if there's somebody here, God used to be on fire for you and served you, they're backslidden, help them to come home tonight and get right with God in Jesus' name. Amen. We're standing, we're singing number 51. I would sing if you're not right with God. If you're backslid, cold and indifferent, come on tonight. If you're lost on your road to hell, come on tonight.